I don't know if it's just me, or not, but, I I think I hate spending my money more than I enjoy it, and that sounds really crazy, and maybe some of you can relate. I've definitely had conversations like this with some of my buddies who I like to kinda sit with it and talk finances with, personal finances, like what we're investing in, um, leveling up in our jobs, leveling up in our careers, making more money at the end of the day. And I've definitely mentioned before where I would say, "Hey, if I had $100, like, I found it on the floor, I would rather put that money into the S&P 500 instead of, you know, going out and buying dinner or going out for drinks that night." And I have, while I have slowly worked on that personally, like, kind of almost forcing myself to enjoy my money, spend my money, not freely, but, like, buy myself something if I want it, like, for example, buying myself a new pair of hockey skates or roller skates, um, maybe, obviously, having to maintain my car, my paid off car, whether that would be, like, getting new brake pads, getting tires. I think, to many people, they would be like, well, obviously, that's for your safety, that's to protect yourself and, your loved ones or whoever you drive with. But I don't know. I guess maybe because like I've been so hard on myself, or like when it comes to stowing money away for my future, just being like so aggressively saving, I've gotten to that mindset where I honestly, like I said, I hate spending money more than I enjoy it. Um, but I guess that's kind of a double-edged sword there. Like, if you're paying money to buy new tires for your car, I don't think anyone out there is happy about, oh, I got to replace my tires, or oh, hey, my tires are getting bare. It's time for me to buy new tires for my car. Yippee! Like I can't wait. I don't think anyone's like that, but just like an overall feeling. And that's just how I feel right now. And I'm, like I said, slowly working on it, trying to kind of convince myself. So, what I really wanted to kind of talk about in this video, at least, is kind of setting aside money, not an emergency fund. Like I already have an emergency fund set away. Like that's good. But having a set of money set aside um, for activities. For example, I know, I guess what the popular term is sinking fund. I kind of heard it. I've heard it here and there, but I never really looked further into it. I kind of always thought, well, if I want to put extra money aside, I'll just put it in my emergency fund. But mentally, for me, that is not good enough, because what that does for me, at least, is, hey, if I put that extra couple $100 or a couple extra $1,000 in my emergency fund, mentally, or like, or in my mind, I'm going to look at that as, hey, you put that money in that account, that is your emergency fund now. You're not taking money out to go on vacation or to buy new hockey skates, or whatever the case is. So what I've kind of been looking at, or just kind of researching this week at least, I know, so kind of fresh, still kind of new, are those sinking funds. And kind of my understanding of them is they are funds you put away to the side. You're not really taking out on a day-to-day basis, similar to an emergency fund, but you're able to, or the goal is to separate your main emergency fund for, obviously, emergencies, tire goes out, motor goes, you need brake pads, or whatever the case is, emergencies, for the most part. You separate the emergency fund and sinking fund. So like different accounts, whether it would be for, um, hey, this sinking fund is for new hockey skates, or this sinking fund is for a new mountain bike, or I guess in my area that I want to set a sinking fund up for is, my personal pleasure, more specifically like vacations or traveling. I am very comfortable in my current situation. I make a decent salary. I live at home, so rent's not too much for me. I don't have a car payment anymore. I have a good amount of savings put away for an emergency fund. I have a good enough savings or like investments in my investment accounts. That's not to brag at all. I don't want that to come off as such, but I am at a point where many people aren't, but they still spend money on vacations and buying fancy clothes, fancy new toys, knickknacks, well, whatever the case is. And I try not to compare myself to others, and I try not to just spend money willy-nilly like some people do. So I try not to kind of compare it in that aspect. But I think what I'm trying to get at is if I don't put money to the side specifically designated for travel or vacations, I will not force myself to spend that money. So I think that is what I'm looking forward to, probably in the coming days or coming weeks. I want to go into my high yield savings bank that I use for my emergency fund. And I want to set up, so I didn't do a little research today. I want to set up what are called, I think they kind of break it down into like savings buckets, or maybe just they're called buckets. And what you can do is like you can, besides the emergency fund, you have the emergency fund here, and you can have a list of buckets here. So you can have one for new car tires, new brake pads. For my instance, it's going to be, my main one's going to be for travel and vacation. So what I'm going to do is, whether it be every paycheck or every month, I haven't set a number that I want to start putting money into this. I'm at least thinking $100 a month, just being super conservative with it. Obviously investing first, a paycheck or a couple $100s a month into my investment account. And then with any money that is left over that I'm not using or not having to pay any sort of bills, I'm going to try to put that money towards that traveling sinking fund, which is, at least the goal for now, is $100 a month. So with that, I think I will be better able to wire my mind, kind of tell myself like, hey, you already did the investing for the month. This $100 is for you to enjoy. So whether or not I go out for drinks that month and I spend that $100, okay, hey, I don't have to feel guilty about it because I already did the investing. I already paid my bills for the month. This money, enjoy it. This is your enjoy it now money. Like enjoy your present money, I guess. So what I really want to focus on is building up that sinking fund for a vacation. Because, funny enough, my sister came to me and my other brother the other day, and she was mentioning, hey, let's go on a cruise to Alaska. And, kind of hearing how we got to get a flight to, I think it was Chicago to kind of dock from there, or to depart from there on the being like a 7-day trip. I think she said it could range from $2,500 to $3,000. I heard that and I almost shit myself. I kid you not. Granted, I'm already like very frugal. I don't spend a lot of money, especially on myself. So hearing, this trip, this trip could cost $2,500 to $3,000. I immediately, like, just sirens went off in my head. Like, immediately, no, there's no way. I'm not doing that. That's too much money. I don't have that money. Realistically, I do have that money, but I don't have the desire to just take $3,000 out of my bank account or my high yield savings account or even my investments and saying, here you go, let's go on this trip now. I'd feel crappy the whole trip. I would think, why did I just take $3,000 out of the market to go for this trip? So what I'm kind of thinking is, hey, if I design this sinking fund, if I put $100 or $200 a month into there, after 6 months, that could be $600, that could be $1,200. After 12 months, it could be, whatever. So I think kind of looking at it like that, sure, if I do that, I'm not going on that trip within the next year if I only rely on that sinking fund. But with that idea, I'm thinking, hey, this money is designed. I put this aside to enjoy. Go on that trip. go on that vacation, book that plane ticket to a city you've never been to that you really wanted to. I've always wanted to go to New Orleans. I know me and my little brother have talked about before, hey, we should go during Mardi Gras. I think it would be a good time, kind of hearing, New Orleans is the place to be for Mardi Gras. Maybe that's a potential for this sinking fund in the future. But I think the ultimate thing I really want to get out of this video, it's not going to be a long video. I'm kind of wrapping it up here, or at least the next minute or two, to be honest. But for me, at least, if I don't mentally or like actually physically put money aside from my emergency fund or for my investments to enjoy for myself, or to, whether it be like donate money or whatever the sinking fund you designate it for, I just won't realistically force myself to spend money on myself. So like I said, I've been doing this, kind of just looking up like different sinking funds, and how kind of people get around that like mental blockade of, spending their money in the present instead of just saving it all for the future. And, this is kind of what I've really landed on. So probably this week or this weekend, I'll probably set up that special account in my high yield savings account, or my high yield savings bank, and probably set up that, like I said, like that individual sinking account, name it vacations or traveling, and just start putting money into it on a monthly basis. And with that, when I eventually get to a monetary value in there where I'm like, hey, I wanted to go on this trip. Oh, $1,000. I have $1,000 in my travel sinking fund. I won't feel guilty about spending it, because I'm like, hey, I've been continuously investing over the months. I put this little extra money in the sinking fund. Now I can enjoy it. I won't have to think about it. I won't have to feel guilty about it. And I think just mentally for myself, it'll be the right move for me. If I'm kind of curious. I'm sure there's people like me out there who kind of think the same way, who think, hey, if I have money, I'm investing it. I'm putting it towards my future. I'm not spending it right now. I get it. I think we're probably on the same page here. So, would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But I think that's it for me tonight. A quick ramble video, kind of giving you my play-by-play on what I'm looking to do to force myself to spend money on myself, and, kind of mentioning the sinking funds, throughout this video. So that is it for me. As always, guys, I appreciate the support, appreciate the love, appreciate you guys tuning into the videos. And that's it for me. So as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.